Greetings to all present. Before beginning with the session, please make a note of the rules and the instructions which are to be followed throughout the webinar. You can switch on your videos, but kindly keep yourself on mute at all times. Please try to log in through your laptop so as to get a better visual experience. The forum will be open for questions and answers later, so kindly post your queries in the chat box only. A very good evening to one and all present here. ISRs on the behalf of Institutions Innovation Council of Shaheed Rajguru College of Applied Sciences for Women, University of Delhi would like to extend my profound and earnest welcome to Mr. Shane Ram, the speaker for today's webinar. I would also like to extend a wholehearted welcome to our esteemed Principal Ma'am, Dr. Pal Mago, and the President of IIC, Dr. Ranjana Singh. I would like to extend our sincere and heartfelt welcome to all the scholarly and knowledgeable teachers and to all the thoughtful and attentive audience present here. We are truly humbled beyond measure for such an overwhelming response.
Entrepreneurship means creativity and the ability to use innovative ideas to make a difference in your community by addressing a need of creating socially business. It is a way of a life, a revolutionary way of enhancing your manner of critical thinking and to give you an insight of this life. ISC SRCASW is here for a webinar on entrepreneurship skills, attitude and behavior development. We are glad to have Mr. Shane Ram as the speaker for today's session. Sir is a strategic advisor of an EX of an XC-suite executive. Mr. Shane Ram is also an author, educator, broadcaster, keynote speaker, and has coached CEOs, executives, and entrepreneurs over time. We would now like to welcome Mr. Shane Ram, who will enlighten us about entrepreneurship and innovation as a career opportunity. Sir, you can go on.
Actually, he's rejoining in a minute. He's having some network issue.
It's not audible. We can't hear anything. Is meeting going on or not? Not.
Kindly wait, sir is rejoining. He's having some network issues. Sir, you're not audible.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm so sorry about that.
No problem, sir. Please start. Yeah.
Okay, hello and good evening, everyone, and wonderful opportunity here. And it's my pleasure to share this topic with you, entrepreneurship and innovation as a career opportunity. So I don't have any slides. Okay, so I'm going to just have a conversation with you guys, and maybe open it up at the end for questions that you may have. So right now, you are at the right place at the right time, because entrepreneurship is definitely a great career opportunity to consider. And it's because, you guys may be in school, I've gone to school, but I don't know if you know this, but over 150 years ago, there were no schools in the way that we know it now. And there were no jobs as the way that we know it now. So what did people do? Okay, so people did what we call barter, the exchange. So for example, if you had clay and you could make jugs or mugs or cups, as the case may be, and I might have some cows and I had milk, and I wanted your cups and you wanted my milk, then we would exchange. Okay, so at some point in time, we were all entrepreneurs. Okay, and the world is changing drastically, so much so that may not be happening in your part of the world, but there's something going on right now called the Great Resignation. Okay, and sparked some bit by the pandemic, or increased due to the pandemic, which people are actually, resigning from jobs and starting their businesses. Okay, so that's a trend that is happening right now. So this topic is really, really, timely at this point in time, and it's my pleasure to share this with you. So I hope that you have some good amount of paper and pen, right? So I encourage you to take good notes, because you probably aren't going to find this in a textbook. Okay, what I'm going to share with you, you're probably not going to find this in a textbook. So get your pens ready to take some good notes. Okay, so I'm going to share with you what I call the 4 core for entrepreneurial success. 4 core ideas, okay? And the 4 areas are strategy, mindset, number 3, purpose, and number 4, emotionality, okay? And I will get into each of those. So number 1, strategy, number 2, mindset, number 3, purpose, and number 4, something called emotionality, which is really, really very important. So let's look at strategy, okay? So what do entrepreneurs really do? Okay, what do entrepreneurs do? So entrepreneurs really solve problems, okay? And that's really important to understand. Whether you decide to still have a career in a regular job, the people who have entrepreneurial skills will have a higher rate of success in their jobs, okay, if you have entrepreneurial skills. Because when you think about it, most jobs at the end of the day, what do? They really solve a problem, okay? Even if you work at a fuel station, you're solving a problem, because if I don't have fuel in my car then, or in my bike, I can't get, very far. Okay, so I'd have a problem. So even every job in the world solves a problem. So the entrepreneur mindset is all about solving problems. So the first thing that you want to think about in entrepreneurship is looking out into the world and figure out what are the problems that you are seeing in your community, your country, the world, okay? And the size of that is going to be really important, because that's going to dictate what your income is going to be, the size of the market. But let's talk first about the problem, okay? So one of the first things that you want to do is to really sit down and think about the problems that you see people have, maybe your peer group, maybe, just looking around in your community, in your country, in the world. What are the big problems that you are seeing, okay? So that's the first thing that entrepreneurs do, is that they solve problems. So if you want to get into entrepreneurship, what you want to get a good eye for is how to spot problems. Problems equal opportunities, okay? So this is what you will get if you do a typical, what we call a SWOT analysis in business: strengths, opportunities, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, okay? So the opportunities exist in the external environment. So really, really important in terms of what is the problem that you're solving, and you need to get really very specific, okay? So I'm starting off with some super important things that a lot of people don't really consider, and this is where, a lot of businesses and entrepreneurial ventures fail because of the strategy side of things. They aren't very clear. So I see people asking about slides. So I'm not going to be sharing slides with you. I'm going to have, conversation. So listen and look in and take good notes, okay? So maybe if you want to share my screen as the presenter screen, that might be helpful. Okay, so that's the main screen that people see. Okay, so that's the first major question that you want to answer when you get into entrepreneurship. What is the problem that you're solving? The second question is, who is your customer? Okay, and a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of trying to make everyone their customer. So when I coach entrepreneurs, I tell them, that at least 2.5 pages to get very, very detailed in understanding your customer, from their age group, their income levels, maybe their social background, maybe their gender, maybe you have a program for women only or for men only. What is the problem that you're solving? Is it a high priced? Is it a low priced problem or market segment? So who are you, serving? And that's really, really important. So not only in terms of the, those demographics, but also in terms of the mind of the customer, understanding what goes on in the mind of the customer, okay? So that's really important to understand how they think. What are they thinking? What are they saying in their heads about the problems? So I want to give you an example of some years ago. I wanted to do something around the issue of purpose, and I'm going to be talking about that, helping people, find their purpose. And my coach said to me, well, Shane, do people really get up in the morning and wonder, what is my purpose? If I could find my purpose today, it's going to be really awesome. Are people really doing that? And the answer was no. Okay, the answer was no. The real thing that was going on in the minds of my potential customers and clients were that particular program was targeted at people who are frustrated in their jobs. They're stuck in the jobs. They can't move up. They might do an MBA and their ideas are not taken on in their organization. They feel frustrated. They're really very bright, but they're not earning what they can earn. Okay, So they're not necessarily getting up every day and wondering about their purpose. Okay, they're wondering, oh my God, is this what the next 20 years of my life is going to be like? Am I ever going to really get to my highest potential? Okay, so that was really the questions that were going on in my client's head. When I started to talk to them about their questions, is when people started to say, he understands my problem. He understands what I'm thinking. Oh, and he has a solution to my problem. I'm going to take a look at this product or this person, as the case may be. Okay, so really, who is your customer in a lot of detail? What's going on in their mind? What are their aspirations? What are their fears? What do they really want? What are the real problem that they're solving? Okay, so for example, if someone goes into hardware looking for a drill, for example, they might need a drill, but the problem that they're really trying to solve is to make a hole in the wall. Okay, that's the problem that you're really solving. The drill is going to solve that problem, or maybe not. Okay, so again, I'll repeat, because this is super important, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't take the time to do this, and that's why we have a lot of entrepreneurial failure. Okay, so what is the problem that you're solving, and who is your customer? Okay, and what is the customer segment? Meaning that, again, you can't serve everyone. That's another problem I see with entrepreneurs, trying to serve everyone. First of all, it's impossible, to do that, and then your product cannot, serve everyone. And we know that a lot of entrepreneurs have big hearts and they want to solve big problems. Yet again, not everyone will have that problem that you're trying to solve, right? And really important when you choose that segment of customers, you have to really figure out if this segment is going to be profitable. Okay, why is this segment going to be profitable? Okay, and you ask all of the questions. Is it a large segment enough to be profitable? Is it a segment that actually has the income to be able to purchase your product and service? Am I able to serve this segment better than my competitors? Okay, so these are some of the questions, really, really important questions. You might get 1,000 questions at the end of this session, but really important questions to consider when you are, building an entrepreneurial plan. Okay, so is that segment worth doing? For example, so maybe, and if I were to use the same example, if I were targeting rather men in that program that I just spoke about, then I didn't have a lot of success, because a lot of men want to take the responsibility of providing for their family, so they don't necessarily want to take the risk of leaving their jobs and starting an entrepreneurial venture that may not turn out to be successful, and I don't want to put my family in jeopardy. So those people weren't actively looking for the product or service. Okay, that's a really important question. When you think about your customer, what you want to ask is, are they actively looking for your product or service, or the idea that you have? Because that's going to make life easier when people are actively looking for what you have to offer, as opposed to the other way, where they aren't actively looking. And what you're going to have to do is to spend a lot of time and money in marketing and building awareness about your product and the problem that it can solve. Okay, so life will be a lot easier if your target market is actively looking for what you are thinking about in terms of starting your entrepreneurial effort. Okay, really important question. Are your customers actively looking for this product or service? Okay, another important question when you're doing the strategy, what is your offer? What do you have to offer the customer? How is it unique? And this is probably the most important thing when it comes to that. It's called your unique value proposition. What is absolutely different about your product or service that is different, better, faster, higher quality, maybe cheaper price, whatever your unique value proposition is. Really, really very important that you answer that question. And a lot of entrepreneurs, again, are not able to answer that question. So the customers now are thinking, well, why should I come to you? Why should I buy your product or service? Okay, really important question that you have to ask yourself, or maybe this is a good point to bring in the importance of mentorship. Okay, having a mentor, someone who has, you know, walked the path, someone who has achieved what it is that you want to achieve. Okay, so that you don't make so many mistakes. They become a sounding board that you could bounce your ideas off before you spend a lot of time and money going into the marketplace. Okay, so what do you have to offer your customer, and what is unique about your product? And it really has to be really very unique, such that the customer, the competitor finds it very, very difficult to do what you are able to do with your product or service, okay? Because your unique value proposition should be that. It should be unique to you and your product and service, okay? You don't want to find, you know, you go down the road and next door and they have the same product as yours. Then what is going to happen is that you're going to compete on price. And when people compete on price, price goes down and you end up earning less than what you could actually earn, okay? So really very important that you understand what is your unique value proposition. And the last question around strategy is, how is that value created? You know, how are you going to create this product or service that is different? So for example, when, you know, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, and you know, anybody could go and do a training certification or a degree or any of the degrees that I have. Anyone can go and do that. But, you know, what I bring to the table is I think that I'm able to explain concepts very, very easily that a lot of people understand, because I read and read and learn. So that's one of the important things that we will get to, learning. And I don't think that my competitors could outlearn me. That's what I try to do. I don't try to beat my competitors at anything really, except that I outlearn them. I learn more than them. I connect with the best people in the world. Okay, that's what I do. I get and I read blogs, and I read, you know, listen to podcasts from the absolute best people. And I have a podcast and I interview the best people in the world at whatever they do, okay? And that's one of the ways that I stay ahead of the game and create something unique. I spend a crazy amount of time, you know, learning from the best in the world, while others are doing other stuff. I'm learning, okay? So that's really the important questions around strategy, okay? And then you have to understand all of the different functions of business. You may not hire all of these people in your business when you're starting off, but you need to know what they need to do and where to get those resources. So for example, I outsource a lot of my work. I don't have a lot of staff on, I outsource. And at the end of the day, that's a human resource function. So understanding the functions of entrepreneurship and business, so human resources, production, if you are making a physical product or service, logistics, how do you get the raw materials to your company? How do you get that product or service to your customer? Really important, because if you're not able to deliver, you know, you're going to have a lot of problems. So you need to understand that. You need to understand accounting and finance, really very important. You need to understand, you know, the money, where is it coming, how is it going? You know, you need to be able to understand financial statements, to be able to ask your accountant, you know, questions and not just accept what is presented to you. You need to understand research and development. You need to understand marketing and sales, really, really very important skills as an entrepreneur, marketing and sales. And we live in a technological world, so you need to have a good understanding of technology, or at least hire people who have a good understanding of the technology that you would need in your business. So that's the functions that you would have to think about in a very strategic way when you're building your entrepreneurial venture. And that's where, innovation comes in, when you are thinking about how could I make my product better. And that's why I'm saying the most important question there in strategy: what is your unique value proposition? All right, because people spend money on things that they think are valuable. So, and again, what is unique? It's what you bring to the table, and this is where innovation comes in. Okay, now, so that's strategy. And each of these four areas do not exist on their own. Okay, it's all interconnected. Okay, so the second area I want to talk about is mindset, the mindset of an entrepreneur. Okay, and the biggest one, I think, is to have a learning mindset, right? Keep learning, because the world is changing quickly. The information and the degrees that you got 2-3 years ago, that you're getting today, now it's not going to be too valuable in the future, just because things are changing so quickly. Okay, so for example, when I did my second master's program, yeah, I got these big thick books, and they are in my library, and I was like, well, one is I don't have need for it right now, because most of the stuff is in here. And I said, well, maybe I should donate it to a library. And then, well, I couldn't, because why would I want to give people information that is outdated? It was great in its time. Okay, so understand that you have to keep learning. Here's an important skill as well: unlearning. Okay, because sometimes understanding how you did things yesterday is not going to work today. Okay, so your agility to unlearn, the ability to say, that was yesterday's information, that was yesterday's practices, is not going to work today. Get that out to the door and bring in new stuff. Let's learn the new stuff. So that learning, unlearning, and learning again, that agility is going to be super important as an entrepreneur. And what it does, it makes you what we call, I don't know if you've ever heard a term called antifragile. Antifragile. Okay, and what that means is, let's take, when we think fragile, we think about glass, for example, glass. Okay, but you have stronger glass, as the case may be, but all of them still have a breaking point. Okay, they're stronger, but they can break at some point in time. But glass that is anti-fragile, it actually gets stronger the more that you hit it. Okay, so what that means is that you're going to have a lot of challenges as an entrepreneur, even as an employee. You're going to have a lot of challenges the more that you hit with stuff. If you have a mindset of learning, well, what can I learn from this? Okay, when I didn't have success, it means that simply means that there's something I did not know. Okay, when you don't have success, it simply means that there's something I do not know, something I do not know how to do, as the case may be. Okay, so that learning mindset is critical. You want to block a great deal of time in your day in terms of learning. Really important in terms of who you learn from. So one of the things that I would recommend to people is to find people who have extreme success at the business or the idea that you want to have success at. That's the fastest way. Okay, get a coach, get a mentor, because the conversations that you're going to have are going to be different. Okay, it's good to have real live mentors and coaches. Okay, that's one of the things that I do. I mentor and I coach people. Okay, but I have a lot of mentors who aren't even alive. Right? Why? Because they're all on YouTube. They have all of their intellectual property, their ideas, their thoughts, all stored on YouTube. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that I haven't met a lot of my mentors, but when I have a specific problem and I don't know how to solve it, yes, I could learn, but again, you can't learn everything, and that's why it's so important to know, how to access information, how to access a coach. What do I need to figure out myself? What do I need to get help with? Because if I try to figure out everything myself, it's going to take a long, long time, and the world will change. My customers will change. My competitors will come out with new products while I'm still trying to figure out everything myself. So that's really important, to be able to ask for help. So, when people talk about mindset, you hear about having a positive mindset. And I don't talk about that a lot, because here's why. Developing a positive mindset is really difficult, for one. Okay, because why? Because most people have a negative mindset. And not that they want to, but we have this thing called life. Okay, and in life we have disappointments, we have hurts, we have regrets. When we turn on the news, we see a lot of negativity. So it's really difficult to have a positive mindset. Okay, so if you have ever driven a car or driven in a car that is automatic, you know that, well, let's equate a negative mindset to being in reverse. Okay, now if you want to go forward, you just can't move from reverse to forward. You have to go into something called neutral. Okay, you have to go into neutral. So I think that's the first stage that you want to get to before trying to get to positive. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a positive mindset, but I'm really trying to be practical, because most people, they listen to a motivational talk about positive mindset, and then you're left on your own and you're like, well, how do I do that? How do I think positively when there's so many things, I open my eyes and, there's so many negative things around. So I say to get to neutral, because people are, waiting to feel good in order to have a positive mindset. So when I feel good, when I feel motivated, when I feel inspired, I will take actions. But that doesn't work, I have to tell you. Okay, so it's more about having not trying to have a positive mindset, but more about taking action. Okay, having an action mindset is what I would say. Okay, because think about it. Okay, if we are motivated, if we're inspired, what are we going to do? We're going to take action. Okay, but here's the interesting thing, is that if you start to take little action, and you start to see some results or no results, it doesn't matter. Once you start to take action, you start to feel better, actually. Okay, because if you don't do anything, you're not going to get into a better mood. You're not going to feel better. Okay, so when we feel good, we take action. Okay, but here's the interesting thing, is that when we take action, we begin to feel good. Okay, so the most important thing in this area, I would say, learning and having a action mindset, not necessarily a positive mindset or a growth mindset, because most people don't have that, and it's going to be very difficult to make that quantum leap from reverse to drive, in a short period of time. Try to get to neutral and just, take action. And what is that going to, some of the things that are going to help you there would be things like mindfulness, meditation, visualization. Those would help you in being able to develop a better mindset for taking action. Okay, so that's around mindset. That's second big topic of mindset. So just to recap on the mindset, you want to have a learning mindset. It makes you anti-fragile. How do you learn? Where do you learn? Reading, listening to podcasts, having coaches, having mentors. Your friends, your network, really very important, because that's, it's what goes into your brain, essentially. Okay, you have to take, a lot of control of that, because your brain is like a computer. So as you know, we say in computer terminology, garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so you entrepreneurs, they guard their minds. They guard their minds, which means that you have to guard your eyes, you have to guard your ears. What are you listening to? Who are you listening to? And that is a function of, your environment. Who do you have around you? And sometimes you have people who love you, but they just don't have the right mindset. Okay, so you have to give them some what I call some limited space in your brain. Okay, because people, our parents maybe, have been traditional people who thought that you should go to school, get a job, and I grew up in poverty, and certainly education and getting a job was the way out of poverty for me, yes. But it served its time, and then you have success, but there's something else that we also need in life, which is what entrepreneurship offers more than a job offers, which is really fulfillment. Okay, happiness in what you're doing, because Tony Robbins says success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Okay, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And so people, I remember, my mom and I used to get in some arguments when I left my job and went into entrepreneurship, because my mail would still go to my parents' home. So my bank statements would go there, and she would open them up just to see if I have money in my bank account, because she didn't understand, what is coaching, what is training, what, going off on your own, what is consulting, is that a thing, is that, can you earn money from that? She didn't understand. So she used to go and check my bank statements to see if I had money in the bank. Okay. So you may have people who might tell you, don't take the risk, etc. But that's what entrepreneurs do. They take risks. And when I went into entrepreneurship, what was the mindset that I had? I said, well, I came into this world with nothing. I am going to leave with nothing, and therefore I have nothing to lose. That was a story I told myself. Okay, that was a story I told myself. I came into this world with nothing. I'm going to leave with nothing, so therefore I have nothing to lose. Okay, no risk, right? In that sense. So what that means is I could take risks in that sense. Okay, because it's that fear of risks that cause people to make wrong strategic decisions. And I'll give you an example. When I left, I got some advice. This wasn't from a coach, it was just experienced people who just saw me and wished me luck and said, well, here's a little tidbit. But because I was an employee, doesn't matter how high you get into an organization, you're still an employee. Okay, so I had an employee mindset, hoping to be an entrepreneur. So when you were given advice, when I was given advice, I couldn't process it, because I was trying to process it from an employee mindset, not an entrepreneur mindset. Okay, so one of the pieces of advice, and I will say this to you, is pick one thing or pick two things and focus on that and do it well and become great at that. Okay. Now I was told that, so I have a background in human resources, but when you're by yourself, which was one of the mistakes that I made very early on in my entrepreneurial journey, thinking, well, I've had these senior executive jobs, I have 2 master's degrees, why do I need to take advice from anyone else? I can figure this thing out. Okay. But when I was left on my own, I got scared. It's like, if I picked one thing, if I picked recruitment, for example, and nobody wanted to hire this month, or I didn't fulfill a vacancy this month, how am I going to get money? Where's my income going to come from? And I got scared. And because I didn't have a coach or mentor at that point in time, and I couldn't talk to my parents, it's like, I got scared and I was by myself. So I decided to do many things, okay, because of fear. So, okay, if recruitment didn't work this month, well, maybe somebody would have wanted an employee survey. Maybe somebody wanted some leadership training and development. Somebody would have wanted some supervisory management training. Some people may have wanted some HR consulting on reorganization of their business. So I became a full service HR consultancy. And then I realized it's like, well, what do I go to this guy for? What is his specialty? If I needed brain surgery, do I go to this guy? Do you go to a heart surgeon if you have a brain problem? No, you wouldn't, right? Would you go to a general surgeon if you had a brain problem? It's like, no, I need to go to a brain specialist. Okay, so becoming very specialized and feeling safe, and knowing that you're probably going to fail some bit before you succeed. Okay. So for example, one of my brands, I started a clothing line just in time for, in our part of the world, the holiday and the Christmas season. And, some orders started to come in, and I said, yes, I'm doing better than Coca-Cola. Okay. Because Coca-Cola only sold 2 bottles of Coke in their first year. So I was like, yes, I have 10 orders for some hoodies and sweatshirts and coffee mugs. Yeah, I'm doing better than Coca-Cola. Okay. Now I'm not making a ton of money, but I'm doing better than Coca-Cola. Okay. So that's the mindset that you need to develop. And being free and taking risks and dealing with failure. I say F is not for failure, but F means find another way, find another answer, find another method. It's not a straight line to success. It's fail, 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 succeed. So that's one of the things that good entrepreneurs endure, is that's what they define success is moving from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Okay, moving from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And that's literally why a lot of people fail, is that they stop. Okay, and that's why you have some successful people out there and you're wondering, well, they're really not that bright. They don't have anything too special, but what they did is that they persisted and they were consistent. Okay, so that's mindset, learning, taking risk, understanding failure, having an action mindset, and that's going to help. Things that are going to help you with that would be things like reflection, meditation, mindfulness, visualization, and changing your environment. Okay, so that's under mindset. So I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go into the other 2 areas. So the third area is purpose. Okay, and this is where happiness and fulfillment comes from, where your entrepreneurial venture is something that you really love, that is aligned with your purpose, because that helps you to keep going on the days that are tough, because you understand that you have a purpose, that your product or your service is actually changing lives, it's impacting lives. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a process, and I have a process, but it's too long to go over right now, of discovering your purpose. But really important is, what I tell people is to, we all have problems in the world, so we solve our problem and we go and help many other people who have the same problem. Right? That's a short definition of purpose. Okay, you have a problem, get over your problem, find a solution to your problem, and help all the other people who are having those problems. Okay, so for me, that's what I did. I felt like, I had a good C-suite executive job, but I just wasn't fulfilled. I felt that, there was more I can do in life, more I can do for the world. But a job sort of puts you in a box. It tells you, sheet of paper, your job description, your department is a box, your cubicle is a box, your office is a box, and you're constrained in this box of what decisions you can do. That the box tells you how much you could earn in this job, and nothing beyond the box. Okay. So I felt trapped, and I found a way to escape, if you want to put it that way, the box, and create my own business. And I said, well, you know what? I don't think I'm the only one feeling how I felt being in that box. Okay. So now what I do is I help people to, discover their purpose, utilize their skills and experience from their first degree, their master's degrees, the experience that they had in their jobs, use all of that to create a business that is fulfilling. So that's what I do, because that's the problem that I had. I solved the problem for myself. I've been doing this for almost 12 years now. So, I'm still able to, buy food and pay my mortgage and do everything else. All right. So I obviously have been successful at making that transition, and I just now help other people to do it. Okay. And when you find purpose, you find happiness, you find joy, you live longer. Science has proven that. Okay. So that's what, purpose. So so that you live an integrated life. So you don't have your business as one part of your life and your purpose as another part of your life. That causes a lot of stress for people. It's one big life that you have, okay? And once you discover purpose, you could have purpose in everything. You could have purpose in your health and wellness. You could have purpose in your relationships. You could have purpose in where you go on vacation, because that makes you happy, that makes you fulfilled. You could infuse that in every area of life, okay? So that's really important. And that's that short segment on purpose, okay? And it's really important because the world is getting stressful. A lot of people don't enjoy, okay? There are many business ideas, there are thousands of business ideas, and thousands of ways of earning income. And a lot of people who do have it realize, well, okay, what's next? Okay, am I really happy? Am I fulfilled in doing what I do? Am I excited to get up in the morning? Okay, and when I started on this, I was excited to get up in the morning. When I was going to bed, I didn't want to go to bed, because I was excited about what I was doing. Okay, so that's a really good test to figure out if you are on purpose. Are you excited to get up in the morning? Do you feel like, I don't want to go to bed because, the problem that I'm solving and the people that I'm helping, I haven't gotten to all of them as yet, and life is short. So the fourth area or the four core for entrepreneurial success, and this is something that not a lot of people are talking about with respect to entrepreneurs, is what I call emotionality, okay? And it's basically, what keeps people back is emotions, fear, okay? Because most of us in life have had regrets, we've had disappointments, we've had hurts, we've had trauma. It's called life, okay? And then when we turn on the television or we open our phones, it's reinforced of how many bad things are happening, and it causes people to live in fear. Okay, fear is sometimes a good emotion, sometimes not a good emotion. Okay, and when I say sometimes it could be a good emotion, is because people, a lot of times, because our educational system does not teach us emotional intelligence. Okay, it's not a big part. It's not in our childhood to teach us about emotional intelligence. One of the mistakes that people make is that they mix up or confuse fear and danger. Okay, fear and danger, they're not the same thing. But when you're not trained in it, we tend to mix them up or to confuse them. Okay, so what happens is that because our brain and nervous system is designed for survival, to keep us alive, it's always looking out for danger. It's always looking out about what's going to go wrong. Am I going to have danger? So for example, in some of the things that I do, which I told, help people transition from jobs to entrepreneurship. Well, what happens is that the body goes into fear. And when there's fear, you don't take action, okay? You freeze, or you fight, or you flight, or you run away from it, and that sort of thing. So one of the thought processes that is happening is that, I'm not sure that this entrepreneurial venture is going to work, and therefore I'm not going to get the money, I'm not going to be able to buy food, and I'm going to die. Okay, that's how the body is processing this. So his body's like, you're not going to die. My job is to keep you alive. So here's what: stay in that job. Don't go into business. You want to grow your business, and it's like, I want to move from 10 customers to 100 customers, and I'm going to have to spend money in advertising, and I'm going to have to go to a new location. I'm going to have to make that investment. Oh my God, what if it doesn't work out? What if no one wants to buy from me? That investment is going to be lost, and I'm going to be in debt, and I'm not going to have money. I'm not going to be able to buy food. I'm not going to be able to eat, and I'm going to die. Okay, that's what's happening. So to give you a real example, when I was offered a job while I had another job, that new job was a new business, absolutely new business. So I was scared. I was like, are they going to work out? It was a mobile business. They didn't even get the license to operate as yet. They were like really early stage. But I was excited because it was like a clean sheet of paper that I was going to draw on and to create on. That was the opportunity that I saw. But and the job that I had was a really nice job. It was paid well. The company gave me a BMW to drive around with and whatnot. And I was like, do I leave that to go for a job where, it's like, do I get a car in this job? Like, no. As the HR person, you have to develop all of those qualities. We are absolutely brand new company. We don't have any cars. We don't have this. And my stomach, I don't know if you have ever got the feeling of, some gut pains, as it's called, some pains in your gut. And I had some sleepless nights because I had those pains. But I still decided to take that job, and it really changed the trajectory of my career, right? But most people would feel that gut pain and said, no, this doesn't feel right, okay? Now, that's a little bit different from intuition, okay? So fear is different from intuition. Okay, but you're going to have to practice it a little bit to get to recognize the difference. So what I was feeling was fear. So what I would say is when you learn to understand the difference between fear and danger, because I really was not in danger. Okay, even if the company didn't work out and they weren't successful and I was out of a job, I said, look, I lived a good life. My parents and my friends wouldn't let me sleep out in the road. I would get some food somewhere. I have enough friends, families, cousins, that would feed me. So I really wasn't in danger, but I was afraid. Okay, so that's the difference between fear and danger. So I would say when you feel the fear, and it's real fear, it points you in the direction that you should go. Not run away from, and that's why I'm saying fear could be good, because it's an indication of what you should try to overcome, because on the other side of that fear is your ultimate success. Okay, so learning that emotional intelligence to understand the difference between fear and danger, and to really change the thoughts in your head. Well, what's the fear here? What am I really telling myself? What am I afraid of? Okay. Is it real? Is it relevant? Now, all of us would have had bad things happen in our lives. And what a lot of people do is that they tend to carry those experiences into the future. Okay. So, and many times you'll find those fears are not really applicable to my current situation. Okay. But you have to be able to think through that. You have to get beyond your emotions, and that's why I call it emotionality. Okay, you have to get beyond that, and that's what good entrepreneurs do. The ultra successful one, they overcome their fears, they overcome their emotions. They're not guided by their emotions, because our emotions are generally negative. Fear, anxiety, depression, worry. Is this going to work out? Is it not going to work out? Okay, so really important work for the entrepreneur is to deal with those past hurts, regrets, disappointments, because if you carry it into the future, it's going to create fear. And now when I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, that fear, what it turns into in business, procrastination. I'll put it off. I'll do it next year. I'll start next Monday. The winter is too cold right now. It's too hot right now. I don't have the right, shoes to go and exercise. It's like, put on the same shoes you've been always having, okay? So people make excuses, procrastination. Here's another one, okay? Playing small instead of playing big. I absolutely hate the term small business, okay? Yes, you might have to start off small, but don't label yourself as small, because words and labels are powerful, okay? So that's a big thing. People play small, and here's the number one reason. When I get to the root of it, why are you playing small, is that They don't have the self-confidence. It's like, who am I to build a big business? Who am I to impact, 1 million, 10 million lives? Who am I? I'm born in a small village. I came up in poverty. That's some of the struggles that I had. Who am I to be, talking to you guys in India, one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and I'm talking to you about entrepreneurship and innovation, okay? So building that self-confidence, despite what your past has done, because that's what I see a lot of entrepreneurs, it resulting in procrastination because of fear and anxiety, playing small. The other side of procrastination is perfectionism. And it's kind of the same. Well, the economy has to be perfect. I have to have the perfect team. The software has to be perfect. The timing has to be perfect. And what that does, it leads to procrastination. Okay, so perfection is another coping mechanism. Another area that I see this resulting in is, not trusting in oneself, doubting oneself, not asking for help. So those are some of the results of having, a low EQ rather, in terms of, being able to manage your emotions. So if you go to my website, it's very easy, shaneram.com. I think on the first page, you will find a free 1-hour webinar. Okay, it's called Getting Unstuck. And I think that's really very important. It's a free webinar, but it's the most important work that I do on entrepreneurs. It's about getting people unstuck, get into the root cause, get into the beliefs and the stories that they have in their heads that actually keep them back from success. Because, I spoke about strategy, I spoke about mindset, I spoke about purpose, and I spoke about emotionality, okay? But things like strategy, easy enough to do, okay? Because if you think about it, you could go on Google how to do anything, how to start a business, how to make this, how to produce that. You can find anything. The how-to, the strategy, the mechanics are easy to find, okay? It's that mechanics is 20%. The psychology, the mindset is the 80%. Okay, and this is where I really want you guys to pay a lot of attention to as well. I think it's really very important. Someone asked a question about how to get to be a millionaire. Okay, so create a product or a service that at least 1 million people have the need for. Sell it for $1, and you have $1 million. Right? Or create a product that is worth $1 million and sell one of it. You have $1 million. Or create a product that goes for $100,000 and sell 10 of it. You have $1 million. The math is simple. There are about 7 ways to do it. Okay. Have $1, sell $1 million of it. Have $1 million product, sell one of it. You guys are bright enough to do the math. That's how you make $1 million. All right. So yeah, if I were to summarize, I would say looking at the entrepreneurial behaviors, learning, really critical. It should be part of your everyday routine. Having a coach or a mentor, extremely important. If you look at the top people in the world, regardless. I mean, I was in India a couple of years ago, and I was doing research of people that you guys might know about, like Sachin Tendulkar and Rohit and those guys. And I found that they really loved their coaches. They got to where they got to because of their coaches, right? So don't underestimate that. Put that as an expense in your business, okay? Or rather an investment, but in accounting will come under an expense. Be very action-oriented. Be able to control your emotions, because your emotions are there to protect you. And most of the times they're going to tell you, don't do this, don't try this, don't do that, stay safe, okay? But the entrepreneur, the successful entrepreneur, is going to have to be action-oriented. And lastly, I would say in terms of critical ideas would be about collaboration and networking. Okay, you know, a lot of bright type 1 personalities. I was one of those who wanted to do everything myself, felt like, you know, asking for help was a weakness. So looking at your network, that's where your customers are going to come from. That's where your employees are going to come from. That's where your business partners are going to come from. So learn that critical skill of networking. All right. Omicron is coming. Well, again, not living in fear, because you know, something to take the time, and this is where reflection comes in. This is where mindfulness comes in, and not getting into the media hype. And if you read about Omicron, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's like the sniffles. Okay, it's not that bad, but the world is going crazy over this. But it's a sniffle. Okay, nobody has been shown to die from it or even hospitalized. Okay, so don't, and that's another thing, you know, big thing. Don't. I'd say don't look at the news a lot, but sometimes, you know, opportunities may come from the news. But here's what I tell people: I don't look at it. It's like, how do you know what's going on? It's like, people are going to talk and they're going to tell you. Okay, so that's really important. As I said, you have to gain control of this and this. What goes in here? This is your entrance into your computer. This is the keyboard to your computer. Your eyes and your ears. Garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so you want to protect that like nothing else. Okay, you want to protect it. All right, guys. So that's my presentation for this evening for you. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. It was indeed very informative. We will now proceed towards answering your queries. Please post your questions in the chat box. So I have some. Here is that. Abhivardhan Singh has a question, but is better bootstrapping or funding from investors?
Okay. I would say investors, because one of the concepts, if you want to create wealth, okay, so having a wealth mindset, one of those concepts is what we call other people's money. Right? Other people's money. So I don't know if you guys ever read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay, but that's a good book that you should read. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So, so one of the concepts is on the poor dad side is everybody wants to do their own stuff. They want to use their own money and that sort of thing. Right? So your own effort, your own ideas, your own money. That's on the poor dad side. On the rich dad side is other people's efforts, other people's ideas, other people's money. Okay, so when I worked at that company that I told you I went to work for, that was a little bit risky, was owned by an entrepreneur. You know, I had my 2 master's degrees, and I was thinking I was, you know, bright and, you know, moving up in life. And then I realized that he was the 270th richest person in the world, right? And I'm more qualified than him, right? So what he was doing, he was using my brain power to create wealth. Okay, other people's ideas, other people's intelligence, and other people's money. So what he did is that he went to the bank, borrowed money, all right? And that's what banks do. They lend people money, okay? That's how they make money, by lending money, okay? So anybody who says, I want to borrow money, they'll be like, please come on in. I'll roll out the red carpet for you, okay? So he borrowed money to build the telecommunications network. And then when people spoke, they bought credit, or they topped up, or they bought their plans, customers' money, other people's money. So started with the bank's money or the investor's money to start off, and use the customer's money to pay back the bank, and the rest is yours. That's my recommendation, so that other people's money.
So Anjali Singh asked in chat box that it is necessary to become a uh, accounting finance background to be able to develop a entrepreneurial venture. How about those who belong to humanities or med background, desiring to incorporate their parent field into entrepreneurship?
Well, it you don't have to have a background, I would say, but you have to have the knowledge. So for example, I have a 1 week, what I call money and business masterclass. Okay, so it's for 3 hours, um, Monday to Friday, 1 week. And I go through in detail all of the financial information that you would need to have in order to understand financial statements. Very little accounting, but you need to be able to hire an accountant. You don't want to be the accountant and the entrepreneur at the same time. Okay, so you could do a webinar, you could do something on YouTube. There are lots of stuff on YouTube that will teach you finance accounting. So you don't have to have a background per se, but you need to learn it. And that's where the learning mindset comes in. That's where, once you have that learning mindset, it is said when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. Okay, so if you go onto YouTube and you search up basic finance, basic accounting, trust me, you would find podcasts, you would find trainings that are absolutely free that will teach you the basics of those things. So you don't have to have a background. You just need to be able to get the knowledge, and there are a lot of free resources or paid resources that you could learn that.
Yeah, it's great, really great advice. And sir, she's asking to drop a link of those sessions in the chat box.
Okay, I'll send I'll send a full list after, and we'll ask to send it out to all the participants.
Okay, so go further. Mansi has asked that what are the qualities of a good CEO should have, and what we need to do to become a CEO.
All right. So now, if I were to back up a little bit, it's a lot of these. It's really getting good at all of the things that I shared with you before. Okay, I have a teen entrepreneur camp, and I've had people who are 7 years old who are entrepreneurs. I have a 7-year-old with 7 books on Amazon. One of my guests, I was trying to get into my program. He's just 11 years old, and he has a candy company right there in Australia. And when the top prime ministers in the world met in the UK, the G7 summit, his products were actually chosen to be taken over there. So I want to say that that it's about not having limits. It's about being creative. And he didn't think that anything was going to stop him at 11 years old of starting a company and being a CEO. So really important to understand the difference between the CEO of a business and the CEO of an entrepreneurial company. It's two different things. Okay, so I want to be able to clarify the difference between business and entrepreneurship. It's not typically the same thing, because I worked for an owner of a company. He wasn't the CEO, he was the owner of the company. So that's the difference. Okay, you can be the owner and CEO of your company, of your entrepreneurial venture, or you could be the owner and hire a CEO. Okay, so that's important to note. Okay, so but now CEOs and senior executives, they're realizing that they need to learn entrepreneurial skills. Why? Because, and I'll give you a quick example if I may. If you're in a traditional business and you go to business school and you get an MBA or whatever, they'll tell you how to do a business analysis. They'll tell you to do a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. They might tell you to do a PESTLE analysis, PESTLE. Political, what's the political climate? What's the economic climate? What's the social climate? What's the technology? What's the legal framework? Okay, and that company that I worked with, they went into a country that most companies would not have gone and did not go because there probably would have been X's in all of those analysis. Okay, so this country, you may have heard of it, called Haiti, Haiti. It's one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Okay, politically unstable, right? So most organizations, if you do political analysis, economic analysis, not good, not good, not good, not good. Okay, and a business will not go there. But this entrepreneur went because he went on the ground and saw that there was a problem. Okay, entrepreneurs solve problem. What was the problem? Communication. Because the country was so poor, many of them left and went to Canada because they speak French in Haiti. And a large part of Montreal, a major city in Canada, speaks mainly French. So a lot of them would have gone there to look for jobs for a better life. But their family was still back in Haiti, so they needed to communicate. And while the country wasn't doing well financially and economically, the people who went abroad were sending back millions of dollars to their family. Okay, but it was still expensive to have a phone conversation. It wasn't possible to see them via video call. So this mobile technology company, who was owned by an entrepreneur, went in, and that's now one of his most profitable markets. Okay, so that's the difference between the entrepreneur and the business, and that's what a CEO should have: vision to see what everybody sees, but to think what no one else thinks. So everybody could turn on the television and do the research and see what's happening in that country, but to be able to think differently, to think outside of the box, I think is a great quality. You know, to care about people, to care about your workers, to care about your customers is a good skill. To be able to be humble, really important for a CEO. To be able to lead, to listen to what people are saying, to listen to your customers, because they'll tell you what their needs are, their concerns are, and not think that you know everything. So those are some of the good qualities of a CEO, but the CEO of an entrepreneurial venture versus the CEO of a traditional type of business. Okay, I hope that answers the question. I think someone spoke about how to start a business. I would say, you know, go through the steps that I shared with you. Identify the problem in your community or what you're seeing that you want to solve. Who's your target customer? Figure out what is the product or service that you're going to offer. Figure out how you're going to create it. Can you create it yourself? You know, are there other companies that are creating it that you could just do something differently? So I'll give you a really simple example. You know, bottled water is a big thing. But, you know, there are companies where you don't need to set up your own bottled water factory, okay? You go to them with an idea and you're like, maybe, you know, a lot of people, you know, water might be boring. How about if we add some lemon into the water and maybe, I don't know, something else, maybe a tulsi leaf in there or that flavor. And you do some scientific work and you create it and you create a formula. And you go to the company and you create a label, and you don't need to own the factory to do it. You come up with your design, your label, your content, and say, you know, I produce this for me. Okay, so that's how you start a business, literally, from an idea. And most important thing, take action, do something, learn about it, experiment, something about it. You know, like my Go for 10 brand, I created my own logo. You know, there are free software online. And guess what I did? As I said to you guys, I started a clothing line. And all I did was I asked someone who prints t-shirts, here's my logo. Can you print it on this t-shirt? Can you print it on this t-shirt? That's how easy it was to start my clothing brand. And guess what? The person who prints the t-shirts, she knows where to go and get the t-shirts. I don't even have to do that. I need to say, I need 10 medium red hoodies. Can you do it for me? She charges me a price. I add my markup and I do the marketing. I do the sales of it. I don't need to produce it. That's how easy it is to start a business.
Thank you so much, sir. And now the Anjali Singh asked, what are your views on, do you think corporate world always promote entrepreneurship?
Um, well, corporate is learning to promote entrepreneurship, but corporate creates these policies and guidelines. So there's something called entrepreneurship, spelled with an I, okay? And Richard Branson spoke about that. And what he says, it's a department within corporate. And I wrote about this in my recent book called Future Ready Leadership, okay? And they create a department that, that they can take the risks, that doesn't have the usual, hierarchical levels and policies and procedures. And all of those policies, procedures are meant to control you. It meant to restrict what you can do. And that is the opposite of entrepreneurship, okay? It's really the opposite. So some corporations now are realizing that they need to pay attention to entrepreneurship, because the companies that are beating these big corporates are entrepreneurial companies. Okay, so for example, Uber is an entrepreneurial company. They figured out a problem where, several problems. One is that, if you go to New York and you hired a yellow taxi, you don't know what it's going to cost you. You don't know the route, and what they do is that they pay, they take the longest route so that they can, charge higher prices, okay? And you don't know how much you're going to spend. But now with Uber, and I know you all have other services like that in India, you know what you're going to spend. This is where I'm going. This is why I am. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm going to pay. Okay, book the ride, and you're there. So they solved a huge problem. And the first time I took an Uber, I was at a hotel in Miami, and I saw all the yellow cabs just sitting there looking around because they were too expensive. They cheat because they try to take the longest route to get there. So Airbnb, they don't own a single hotel room, and they're bigger than the Hyatt, they're bigger than the Hilton. Okay, so yeah, if you are even in corporate, they're realizing that their biggest competitors are coming from entrepreneurs. Okay, so they now need to become entrepreneurial. They need to take more risks. They need to be more nimble, fast moving, changing quickly to changing circumstances. So that's how I'd respond to that question about corporate and entrepreneurship.
The institution's Innovation Council extends sincere gratitude to Mr. Shane Ram for delivering this session today and enlightening us about career opportunities of entrepreneurship and innovation. Thank you for taking out the time from your busy schedule and joining us. We are grateful for the learning experience that you provided. We extend our deepest thanks to our Principal Ma'am, Dr. Payal Mago, for being our pillar of support and strength, and to all teachers for their constant support and motivation, and to the audience for the session for showing their keen interest in the webinar. We hope it provides you with a great learning outcome.
All right, you're most welcome, and I really enjoyed sharing this information with you, and I wish you guys all the best. So I want to say just, if you want to get more information and connect with me, I'm on Facebook.